I don't know why I agreed to that cursed hike. 3 days in the backwoods of northern Minnesota, far from cell towers, roads, and even basic logic. Unplug, reconnect with nature, the tourism site said. Your peace is our promise. Yeah, sure. If by peace they meant soaking wet boots, an aching back, and a growing suspicion we were being watched. Our guide, a gaunt man named Eli, led the way through the dusk-thickened forest. The trail was more memory than path, worn smooth by deer, not boots. Our flashlights were dying, just like our enthusiasm. 3 days of this shit, muttered Zach, adjusting the strap of his pack for the 100th time. For the money we dropped, I could have flown to Miami. You didn't, grinned Nate. He was the one who roped us into this mess. He'd gone corporate after college, some mid-level VP at a tech firm. Still acted like the frat boy I met freshman year, only now with a Patagonia jacket and overpriced hiking gear. The sky overhead had turned the color of gunmetal. Clouds hung low, pregnant with rain, and sure enough, thunder rumbled somewhere deep beyond the trees. Great, I muttered, tugging my hood up. The rain came in sheets, cold and sudden. Wind sliced through the trees, bending branches with an eerie creak. Flashlight beams danced across bark and bramble. I swear to God, groaned Zach. This is a nightmare. It was Nate who spotted the lights first, faint flickers through the trees ahead. Cabins, maybe? Civilization? We pushed forward, squelching through muddy slush until the trail dipped and water rushed around our ankles. My boots were soaked. Our guide stopped suddenly. Eli dropped to his knees in the muck and covered his face with his hands, trembling. Eli, Nate called. Hey man, you good? He didn't respond. And then in a flash of lightning that split the sky, he vanished. Just like that. One blink he was there, next blink, gone. No footsteps, no sound. Just the void he left behind and the wet, churned up mud. Eli? I called, panic rising. Hey. Dude, what the hell is this? Zach snapped. This a joke? He was just there, Nate said, turning in circles, flashlights slicing through the rain. Then Zach dropped to his knees, groaning. He clutched his head, his face twisted in pain. I hear something, he whispered. What do you hear? I asked, but my own ears began to ring. No, whine, like a broken radio trying to find a station. A piercing frequency that drilled straight through my brain. I staggered. A shape darted past, a twisted figure, unnaturally tall and thin, with eyes like dying embers. And then it was gone, melting into the shadows between trees. I couldn't scream. My voice caught in my throat. The pain exploded in my skull. I saw a burst of sparks behind my eyelids, then blackness. I woke up in my apartment in Chicago. Or at least that's what I told myself at first. It was evening, the sky outside bruised orange with sunset. I sat at my favorite dive bar, scrolling through the news, trying to unwind from what was supposed to be my vacation. But something wasn't right. I couldn't remember the flight home, couldn't remember leaving the woods. My backpack was there, my boots still muddy, but my memories were scrambled. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the bar. 3 guys, loud, twitchy, were arguing. One swung a beer mug, missed, and nailed the bartender. She dropped like a rag doll. Hey! I shouted, surging forward. The second guy turned on me. I met him with a punch to the jaw. The third tried to run, but slipped and spilled beer. I slammed him down with a knee to the back. Cops rolled in minutes later, lights flashing red and blue. One recognized me. Major Durov, FBS, he asked. Weren't you supposed to be on leave? Leave's over, I said, flashing my badge. An hour later, I sat across from General Harland back at HQ. His face was tired but focused. "We've got a situation," he said. "Northern Minnesota. Small town, Tamarack Hollow. It's not on most maps, never was." I blinked. Tamarack Hollow? Never heard of it. Of course not. Locals know it by word of mouth. Forest's eaten most of it, but something's happening. People have gone missing. 12 this year alone. Mostly teens, a couple tourists. No signs, no bodies, nothing. And you think it's connected to whatever happened to me? Possibly. You said your guide vanished. That's one of the names on our list. Elijah Monroe, local trapper. He's been guiding hikers for a decade. Disappeared 5 days ago. Harlan slid a folder across the table. Inside, photos, maps, witness statements. At the bottom, a blurry aerial shot. Something in the woods. Structures maybe, or ruins. "We've already made arrangements," Harlan said. "You'll leave tomorrow, field command. Find out what's happening. And Durov?" "Yes, sir." "Whatever this is, be careful. It's not the kind of thing we can clean up with press releases." I got home and packed in silence. That night I dreamed. The highway out of Duluth was long, gray, and empty. I rented a rust-colored SUV with a full tank and four-wheel drive. Harlan had made arrangements for local assistance, a deputy named Bill Carter in a small ranger station near the Tamarack State Forest. According to the file, Tamarack Hollow was 15 miles beyond that. No cell reception, no marked trails, no official history. It was the kind of place you had to already know existed to find. The sky grew darker the further north I drove. Clouds sagged low, full of something more than rain. The trees leaned in, old pines draped with moss like the shoulders of ancient giants. My GPS blinked out an hour past Moose Lake and didn't come back. The road narrowed to 2 cracked lanes. By the time I reached the ranger station, daylight had turned the color of ash. The building was a squat, aging rectangle tucked beneath towering spruce. A battered American flag flapped in the wind. I stepped inside to the smell of stale coffee and damp flannel. Behind a desk sat Deputy Carter, a man in his late 50s with a smoker's rasp and eyes that had seen too much. "You the Fed?" he asked, not getting up. "Major Durov, FBS." "Yeah, well." He eyed me. "Not much we can do for you. People disappear up here sometimes. Always have. 12 disappearances in 6 months is not sometimes, deputy." He scoffed. "City types come up here expecting national parks and hiking trails. Instead, they find weather, wolves, and swamps that'll suck your boots right off. Some don't come back." "You're saying this is normal?" "I'm saying you won't find anything you want to find in those woods." I leaned over the desk. "How about you just introduce me to the guide Harlan mentioned? Said you've got a local who knows the area." He sighed and grabbed an old rotary phone. Yeah. He's already waiting. Told me you'd come." The guide was named Arlen. Tall, wiry, with skin like cured leather and a beard that belonged in a lumberjack competition. He didn't shake hands, just nodded once and motioned to the truck parked outside. "You got gear?" he asked. "In the back." "You armed?" I tapped the pistol under my coat. "I know how to use it. Won't help." He wasn't much of a talker. As we drove, Arlen explained that the path to Tamarack Hollow wasn't on any map because there hadn't been a Tamarack Hollow on paper in nearly 50 years. "Used to be a village back there," he said. "Logging town, 30 families, maybe more. Then one spring, it just stopped being. Some say a plague, others say fire. Officially, just vanished. And unofficially, Arlen glanced at me. You'll see. By the time we reached the end of the dirt road, the trees had closed in like teeth. The forest felt wrong. Not dead, but listening. We hiked the rest of the way on foot, an old trail nearly swallowed by moss and rot. The silence was thick. No birds, no insects, just the wind through the canopy like whispers on the edge of hearing. An hour in, we found the first sign. A child's boot half sunken in the mud. Next to it, claw marks, long, deep, into the bark of a birch tree. What animal could do that? I asked. Arlen didn't answer. We made camp at dusk beside a stream so clear it looked like glass. Arlen built a fire and practiced silence. I unpacked my gear. Night settled in fast, the forest swallowing the last of the light like a living thing. Over black coffee and jerky, Arlen finally spoke. You hear about the Monroe boy? Elijah? Yeah. Disappeared during a hike. Arlen nodded. I knew his father. Eli wasn't the first. Just the most recent. People vanish in these woods like smoke. No tracks. No blood. Just gone. Any patterns? Rain, Arlen said. They always disappear right after the rain starts. Thunder growled low over the horizon. I glanced up. Drops began to fall. Cold, deliberate. You said the village was wiped out, I said. Plague or fire. That's the story. What's the real one? Arlen stared into the flames. There's something in that hollow. It was old before we were born. The people there, when they realized what they'd built over, they tried to leave, but it didn't let them. Now it wants more. That night, I dreamed I was walking through the forest. Not just walking, being led. Invisible hands pulling me by the ribs, deeper into the trees. Rain poured. My boots sank into a sucking black muck. Voices whispered my name. One of them was Eli. I woke to darkness. The fire had gone out. Arlen was standing at the edge of the camp, staring into the trees. You hear that? He asked. Hear what? Voices. Calling. I listened. Silence. And then, a faint melody. A child humming. From nowhere. I raised my flashlight and scanned the woods. And there, standing just behind the first line of trees, was a figure. Small. Motionless. Its eyes shone like wet glass. The deeper we went, the quieter the woods became. Even the rain sounded muffled. My flashlight barely cut through the fog, and the trees pressed in, close and claustrophobic. Still think this was a good idea? I muttered. Arlen didn't answer. He was listening. Then we heard it, faint music. A music box. The trail led us to a clearing, and what stood there wasn't a village. It was a graveyard of one. Rotten cabins, crumbled porches, a chapel choked in ivy. This used to be Tamarack Hollow, Arlen whispered. Or what's left of it. We approached the chapel. Inside it was damp and cold. The ceiling was half collapsed. Broken pews, dust everywhere. And in the center of the room, on the floor, a music box. A porcelain ballerina turned slowly, playing a distorted version of Swan Lake. I froze. That melody. It was in my dreams. Suddenly, the music stopped. The air changed. Behind the altar, she appeared, thin, dripping in black water, eyes hollow, skin gray and stretched too tight. Her mouth opened slowly, impossibly wide. She pointed, first at Arlen, then at me. We bolted. Branches whipped our faces as we sprinted through the trees. We didn't stop until we hit a stream. My hands were shaking. What was that? I asked. She's real, Arlen said out of breath. The Hollow Bride. Some say she was buried here after the town burned. Others say she was never alive. I stared at him. What about the kids? They follow her or become her. That night, we camped near a rock wall. I barely slept. In a dream, I saw a burned girl, mouth sewn shut, holding the ballerina figurine. She looked at me and whispered without sound. Come. I woke to wind and a strange pressure in my chest. Arlen was already packing. Today, we end this, he said quietly. I didn't ask what that meant. I just followed him into the trees. We walked in silence, following a narrow deer trail. The fog was thick and the forest felt wrong. The trees leaned toward us like they thought we were listening, watching. Arlen stopped suddenly. There, he whispered, pointing. A small cabin stood alone in a gully, barely standing. Its wood was scorched, but somehow still intact. Moss crawled over the roof like a living shroud. A broken window bled darkness. I felt the cold in my bones. That's it? That's where she died, Arlen said. And where we end this. We crept closer. The air was heavier now. The silence wasn't natural, it pressed against our ears. As we stepped onto the porch, the door creaked open by itself. Inside, rotting furniture, a blackened fireplace, and a crib in the corner. Empty. But something stirred near the back. I raised my flashlight. She was there. The hollow bride. Her white dress was tattered and soaked, her skin pale as snow. Hair draped like seaweed. Her eyes were vast voids, and yet full of grief. Then I saw the figurine in her hands, the same porcelain ballerina. She turned to us slowly. The walls began to bleed shadow. The floor groaned beneath us. I'll distract her, Arlen said. You destroy it. What? She's bound to the figurine. Break it. This ends. He didn't wait. He lunged at her with a flare, igniting it in her face. She screamed, not in rage, but like a mother mourning. I ran, grabbed the ballerina. My hands burned on contact. It felt alive. She wailed behind me, rushing forward with unnatural speed. I smashed it on the stone hearth. A soundless explosion of wind and ash blasted through the cabin. The walls caved inward. The hollow bride screamed, then cracked like porcelain and shattered into 1,000 glass shards. The forest lit up, briefly, with eerie blue flame. Then everything fell silent. I woke outside. Rain was falling gently. Arlen lay a few feet away, bleeding from a cut over his eye, but breathing. The cabin was gone. No rubble, no crater. Just a patch of wet moss and a faint ring of ash. Back in town, the fog had lifted. The villagers came out of their homes, dazed, like waking from a nightmare. And the missing kids? Some came back. Not all, but some. We left that same evening. On the drive out, Arlen said, "You ever wonder why it was a ballerina?" I nodded. She lost her daughter in that fire, he said quietly. The figurine was all she had left. Weeks passed. I returned to the city, trying to forget. But at night, sometimes, I still hear the music box. Twisting notes of Swan Lake, slow and broken. And in my dreams, a voice whispers, "Thank you." Or maybe, "See you soon."